Welcome to Live at Icontowers. We have an amazing package for you tonight. And kicking off the show today, we have Snatcher and Faith Child.
You should know better. Color of your skin don't make you better. Hate you project gon' make you bitter. At the end of the day you gon' die quicker. All lives matter, even if we all differ. Everybody counts, we really gotta look deeper. Be your brother's keeper, maybe life will be sweeter. We can keep that going round like a rap cipher. I really pray we can get this right. Love's the only way that we can end the strife. Cuts like a knife if it's otherwise. You miss love,
let God be true. Every man be a liar, you're a liar. Let God be true. And every man be a liar, you're a liar. Without love, oh, you're a liar. Without love, yeah, you're a liar.
Alone we go fast, together we go further. Love is the weapon we need to fight terror. I'm locked and loaded, about to shoot at the error. Let us all stay together to create a new era where we got different views but we stay united. We erase racism but we're not divided. Let's get it started, I'm so excited. It's happening over here and you're all invited. From the streets to the tweets, let them know. You claim to love God, then you need to let it show. Got love in your heart, then you need to let it flow. You got faith, come on,
let God be true. And every man be a liar, you're a liar. Let God be true. And every man be a liar.
In a track 5th kid, born and raised in a CR7. Man a Christian like CR7. And what you know about Thornton Heath? A bus station was known for the beat. And the man them holding the heat was the only time they were holding the grease. That's over the peak. Now we got graduates, a managers managing managers. They cannot damage us, no longer amateurs. Breaking down barriers, now we are manning up, standing up. We used to be off track, now we're getting on course. Getting on course. When you're finding the ketchup, do not forget your sauce. God.
Everything, old, he's making you.
He's making you.
I wanna see you double like, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Everything fresh, now everything clean. I'm blessed up from the footwear to the head top, messed up. Now we on path to the next block.
I ain't even trying to find a reason, I'm just saying. That was there, but I'm back again on my way in. I'm doing better than I ever did. I got the blessings from the heavens end.
It's time to get the poppin', I ain't never stopping. Let me like it, give me your feet, let me align it. How much of the young stars on the wrong path of what life is? They wanna be masculine. Instead of job on the fashion tip. Designer brands don't make you a man, it just makes you a walking mannequin. There's more to life than Gucci bells. There's more to life than bougie girls. There's more to life to this mortal life. Let me multiply your future wealth. Yeah, regardless of your past mess, you can be better. I know it's hard to see your future when you only see error.
Everything, old, he's making you. I wanna see you double like, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. Everything fresh, now everything clean. I'm blessed up from the footwear to the head top, messed up. Now we on path to the next block.
I ain't even trying to find a reason, I'm just saying. That was there, but I'm back again on my way in. I'm doing better than I ever did. I got the blessings from the heavens end.
It's time to get the poppin', I ain't never stopping.
Everything, old.
Born and raised in a CR7. Man a Christian like CR7.
Everything, old, he's making you.
Designer brands don't make you a man, it just makes you a walking man.
On today's show, we're going to be talking about gun and knife crime. It has become a major issue in our nation, and there is need for us to engage this pertinent and cutting-edge issue.
Meet our guests. Daniel Marczewski is the senior caseworker for Egangs project. He's been working with gang members and people caught up in addiction since he reformed from a life of crime and drug addiction himself in 2016. Daniel now provides mentoring, education, training and employment to anyone who wants or requires help exiting street life.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about the work of Egangs?
By all means, yeah. Well, Egangs, we're about families. We engage with the families. We engage on a personal level. We build a relationship with the families and obviously our clients, the young people that we work with. Also, we are solely about engagement. We're not about box ticking. We're not about enforcement. Okay, when these young people, they see, when we start to build a relationship of trust, and they see that actually these men are here to advocate for us, we can work with them. We do have a 16-week mentoring package. We tailor it to suit that individual on a personal level. It's basically a guideline for myself and my colleagues to work from. But we don't use a one-size-fits-all approach. We tailor that mentoring program to suit the individual.
So how can viewers and people engage with Egangs? Feel free to just direct us website.
Okay. And we're always looking for volunteers at Egangs. Okay, we do presentations at churches where we make appeals for volunteers, for anyone to come and help. You can come to Egangs, you can support us, and come and offer your services to help us work with the young people that we work with. We're always looking for people to work in the office with us. Anyone that can benefit us in the way of websites and stuff like that, of course, absolutely. And we're always looking for mentors as well, especially mentors that can drive, okay? So these are just some of the ways that you can help out.
Let our viewers have an idea of who Sheldon Thomas is.
Sheldon Thomas, consultant primarily focusing on gang behaviour, culture and consequences. Following a youthhood involved in gangs and serious crime, Sheldon knows better than most the need for a structured way out of a life built around gang culture. Through founding Gangsline, they have engaged with over 7,000 individual gang members, supporting them in the complexities surrounding exits, whilst maintaining brilliant relationships with government agencies, police and health services.
Please, why do you think people go into gangs?
I think the biggest factor is family. I always said that. I don't think we can totally blame poverty because there's a lot of poor people in this country who do not commit crimes. And I just think sometimes for the government it's a cop-out to use the word deprivation and poverty. For me, children come out of a home. And when these children come out of a home undisciplined, unruly, with bad intentions or groomed into that lifestyle, you have to look at parenting. And I know a lot of people don't like the sound of that because people saying, are you blaming mothers? No, I'm not. What I am doing is looking at the fact that the attachment theory clearly talks about if a child doesn't have that right attachment from the age of 0 to 2, it's unlikely to form positive relationships when they get older. Also, Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about the basic need of a child. And if the basic need of a child is not met at home, what are we expecting to happen when that child leaves the home? So the point that Daniel was talking about, where these guys are groomed, the vulnerability of that child is why they're being groomed. And until we address vulnerability, until we address family breakdown, until we address absent fathers, no matter what money you put in, you can move a family who is broke, who is poor, into a nice area, it won't make a difference because the mentality has to change. If the mental state of their mind is not functioning, then they're unlikely to change no matter what environment you put them in. That's the reason why I don't believe poverty is the main contributing factor here. There were 3 professors, one in England, 2 in America, that has done extensive research, including myself, on what role does a father play. If you look at African Americans, 71% of African Americans have no fathers in the home. 69% of Hispanics don't have any fathers in the home. If you come back to Britain, 22% of white families don't have fathers. 61% of black families in England don't have fathers. So we need to understand that the role of the father needs to be addressed on a worldwide issue, not just from an English point of view, but from a societal point of view.
Oof. Yeah, someone said, ooh, I was like, okay, where do we even start? I mean, is austerity an issue?
Austerity obviously is an issue because that contributes to good schools, to paying for schools, homes, building up nice environment. Of course, that all plays a part, but the biggest part is family. If you can't get the structure right in family, you're not going to get nothing else right. It doesn't matter. Listen, we have middle-class kids from Reading, Oxford, Wiltshire, Cambridgeshire who are in gangs, and they're not from a poor background. Their dad isn't absent. But what is happening in their house is there's neglect. That means the child doesn't have no engagement with the dad, doesn't have no engagement with the mum. Why? Because when you're middle class and you earn a lot of money, you're always going out to work or build your business. So what's happened in Britain in the last 15 to 20 years, we have seen families spend more time at work than they do with their children. So when you spend more time at work than you do with your children, gang members, radical Muslims and far-right groups will spend time with your child using social media. So we've got to understand, unless we start addressing what is the balanced picture today, how do we get the balance right between going to work and raising our children? What is the priority of the world? Because at the moment, the priority of the world is making money. The priority of the world isn't raising children. If you look at mothers and look at fathers, look at middle-class people, look at poor people, they have one thing in common: money-driven. And they're not focused on the most important factor, which is children. So we've become, in the West, money motivated, consumed by material goods, which is now taken over how we raise children, period.
Some of the things you're saying, you're talking from how many years of experience of working in this field?
30 years. I left gangs in 1986 after serving 10 years as a gang member and as a gang leader. And my way out came when 4 gunmen came into a nightclub to shoot me. They approached me, 4 guys with balaclavas, missed, blew the guy's head off next to me, and the guy's blood spewed on me, and that was my turning point. So from 1986, when I left gangs, I went to America to stay with Jesse Jackson, and it was through Jesse Jackson that I learned all of this, that actually family is the basis of everything.
Wow. I'm just thinking about the church. What role should the church be playing in all of this? Because this is heavy stuff, isn't it?
Well, the church can play a significant role, which they haven't done. They haven't done enough work. There are some churches who are doing some stuff, but there's not enough churches doing stuff because they have the moral and spiritual high ground. And because they've got the moral and spiritual high ground, they are the ones that can address absent fathers more than even the government. But they are not addressing. If you look at the pews, 70% of all churches, doesn't matter whether it's a Pentecostal, evangelical, Seventh-day Adventist, it doesn't matter, are filled with women. There are no men. We need to go back to primary school to teach girls and boys what a relationship is and what it actually stands for. Because at the moment, for boys, it's just about sex. So for instance, today, you will meet a girl and they would have sex the same day. In the 1970s, when I was young, you couldn't have sex with a girl on the same day. In fact, you couldn't have sex with her for 6 months. So there's a standard being dropped by the girls and being enforced by the boys. And that's because of the music videos that they're listening to, they're watching. And so these guys are being influenced, these girls are being influenced by the music. I know some people ain't gonna like this, they're gonna get upset, but trap and drill and hip hop and those negative music, not all of it's negative, but some of it, and those music is causing causing young people to believe this is the way forward. So what happens is they have sex, then that girl gets pregnant, the girl phones the guy and says, I'm pregnant. The guy's like, so what? I didn't want a baby. So the question is that we've got to retrain society about relationship. What does it mean to be in a relationship with a woman, so that they can understand it isn't just about sex. It's about more than that, and that's where the church comes in. The church is not doing enough. Why? Because the church has gone into the same arena as materialism, prosperity message, and they've lost themselves with the prosperity message instead of looking at community and what they can do to serve the community.
Catch your breath. He's very passionate about what he's talking about. Solutions. What say you?
Firstly, I do agree with what you're saying there. The church, I go round and I do presentations in churches. And I will say this, that I hear what you're saying, Sheldon. There are more females in the churches, that's absolutely sure. But there's this. For us to put out an appeal for guys to come and help us mentor, I know that when I'm doing it, that church presentation, the benefits come from sharing that problem, putting it on the doorstep of that church. In order for me to think that when I leave here, I am going to find a man or a woman even of substance and caliber that can come alongside me and help me mentor a guy that is volatile, the chances of that, and without losing faith in the whole situation, I know is quite slim. But it is my duty to go around and put that appeal out at churches. But I hear what you're saying. I'm not the main man for diagnostics of a situation. At Egangs, we're about engagement, just hands-on work, okay? I can sit down and diagnose a problem all day long with you, and really I'm not equipped to do that, okay? But unless I get out there and help a young person, then I feel like I'm just, blowing in the wind, so to speak. There are many resources. There are, for a start, mentors such as myself and my colleagues at Egangs. There are many organisations out there that do similar, if not the same sort of work. I don't believe that it is impossible in the eyes of some young people to get a job, to not get a job just because they've got a criminal record. That is a lie. That is not true at all. In fact, there you go, we're living evidence of that, okay? It's not possible that a young person, it's not right that a young person should be forced into this sort of belief of the fact that he's not able to get a job because of his criminal record. No, we're there to actually help these guys come out of that mindset, as well as really get them into hands-on work as well.
Practical.
What solutions is one is that the Pentecostal churches, or all churches, need to be trained by Gangsline. Okay, that's what we do. Yeah, they need to be trained. That's the biggest mistake that's happening. They're not being trained. So we've got churches going out talking things they don't know nothing about. They don't understand gangs, and they're trying to do programs that is only replicating what other people are doing. So the first thing needs to happen is people in church, youth pastors or pastors, need to be trained to understand gang mentality. That's the first thing that needs to happen. The second thing that needs to happen is church needs to stop trying to replicate and create something on their own and support. So, for instance, several churches can support Egang. Rather than go out and do something on your own, saying you're going to evangelize, you can say, you know what, let's phone Egang, find a way that we can either financially support them, or this is my idea, this is what partnership. Don't start something on your own. Go to an organization that has got Christian values that you could go to. That's the one thing that the church ain't. You know why? The church wants to have a name. And this is where we're going wrong. Right. We need to stop with this idea of, oh, this church did this and this church. Church are not there for that. Egang is there for that. Egang are there. They're the Christian arm of the street. You are the church. So what you should be doing is supporting the Christian arm of the street.
So what kind of training do you offer? Let's say in practical terms. Do you offer training as well?
Yes, I have a training that is specially focused for the church. And so it's a 1 day's training course, which is accredited. It's the first and the only gangs training in the whole country and in Europe and in America that is accredited. No other training is accredited. So we have that. So it's a 1 day's training course, which will then get you to understand the basic understanding of gang mentality, because gang mentality is different from antisocial behavior. It's completely different. Their thinking is more about making money in a certain way, which whether it be using their justice. Because remember, gang members live in a world of their own. So the world I was in was a completely different world to the world that you're in. So the world I woke up in was, yeah, I need to kidnap that brother, pull his fingernails out and use a pliers and take his teeth out. That's the world we're in. The gangs have got their own justice. The gangs don't have go to court or phone the police. So the gangs have their own justice, their own system, and it's called a parallel world. It's a world that doesn't work in the same ways yours does. It abuses women, it abuses mothers, it abuses family, it attacks little children, it grooms children, it exploits girls. It's a world of their own. So unless you understand that world, you can't go out and say you're going to do anything. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the church needs to learn to evangelize differently. This evangelism, Jesus loves you, does not work. When I went to Jamaica, I couldn't tell those gang members in Jamaica, oh, Jesus loves you. That don't work. What you have to do is understand these guys deal with death, darkness. So when you're dealing with gang members, you've got to understand, you've got to go into the book of Revelation, which deals with darkness. And if you don't go into that, all what you're doing is going to be fruitless. Because going to a man and telling him that Jesus loves you does not work. What does work is when you get to where his understanding is, which is life and death. That's what they understand.
From the look of things, we need to do this and not just do like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Let's give it quality time. So it'd be good to have you back on the show and we actually capture some of these narratives. But if you don't mind, can you just, engage with that camera or that camera, anyone, that one, and give us details of the website, do your call to action, what we can do to engage. Visit the website, sign on for the training, give us tools here so we don't be discouraged.
The website is www.gangsline.com. You can sign up for our gangs training. You can sign up for us to go into your schools and educate your children. Primary, secondary, PRUs, alternative provision. We go into prisons and all of that kind of stuff. My call to action isn't to come and support me or call for volunteers, because I'm a realist. There ain't none. Okay? I'm a realist. I've been doing this a lot longer than most. Okay? We are failing. We have to admit the church has failed. We have failed as men. Okay? And our society has failed totally. The only thing that I would call is that we need societal change. What do I mean by that? We have to reevaluate what's important to us in society. Is business and our 9-to-5 jobs more important than raising our children? Because let me tell you what's happening out there now. Gang members, radical Muslims and far-right groups are using social media to attract vulnerable children. Why? Because we are not loving our children in the way we ought to. And until we start loving our children, because that's what's missing in the home. If you look at that report for 2015 from the UN, they released a report saying Britain, children in British homes are more likely to grow up feeling unloved in a family home than anywhere else in Europe. That's a report written by the UN, not by me. And until we understand the value of love, the value of what it means to raise your child, we have parents out there who don't even know the friends of their child. They don't even know where their children are at 10 o'clock at night. They don't even know what their children get up to on social media. So how on earth are you going to blame austerity for you not doing your part, for you not doing your role? Now, I know some people are not going to like this. They're going to write on Facebook and reject what I'm saying. That's down to them. But I'm a realist. I was a former gang member. and my mum didn't love me in the way she ought to, neither did my dad. And I'm not blaming them because they grew up under colonial rule. So I understand that they didn't know how to do it. But I am telling you now, until we dress societal change, until we start understanding what is the most important thing in our lives, money or our children, if we don't understand that principle, if we refuse to acknowledge that, our children are going to continue to be raised by social media.
I believe that even in the midst of all the challenges, there's hope. And there are some interesting testimonies. And that's one of the reasons why we set up Icontowers. You know, it's not about making profit only, but engaging with the community in a creative way. Do you have any last words you want to say to our viewers?
These kids need support. These kids need role models. That doesn't always have to come from the likes of a direct parent. These kids lack a main ingredient in their life, and without it, nothing goes on. And that ingredient is love. And anyone that has passion in their heart for the young kids can give kids love by showing them support. We've heard that, about your thoughts on the church. And yes, of course, when we go to church presentations, the church tend to expect us to say, you must go out there and tell these people that Jesus loves them. Well, it's questionable. There's the right approach, the wrong approach. When the kids speak to us at Egangs, we can't deny God's love because that is the main ingredient to what has helped us. Okay, but we don't go out there and literally preach to them. That would not be wise. You are going into a situation where these kids, they're volatile. They need someone to talk to them about real life and relationships. And that cannot be done without love.
Ade Omuba, MBE. Ade has been in full-time social entrepreneurship and Christian ministry in the UK for over 31 years, with a sincere heart for servant leadership. He is a co-founder of several organisations and groups, namely the Christian Victory Group, iCare projects, through which he has helped set up over 100 social action inclusion projects in the last 28 years, Christian Concern, CC, a UK lobby campaign group on public policy, and the Christian Legal Centre, CLC, addressing Christian liberty cases, National Church Leaders Forum, NCLF, a Black Christian voice. He was awarded an MBE in the Queen's New Year's Honours List in 2019. Ade Omuba is a social entrepreneur and public campaigner.
Welcome back to Live at Icontowers. You know, we have some wonderful people in the house this evening. Let's start with you, Pastor Ade. Do you really think the older generation understand this issue of gangs and knife crime?
Man, I was just so blessed with your first two guests because they touched so much on my convictions. I came here from Africa in my very early 20s, and I came with all my African natural culture. And then I got here, got married, and I have 3 young adults who are in their mid to late 20s. And I had to imbibe in them what was natural culture for me from Africa and my own generation. And then I realized I released them to go to school, and school has a totally different culture. And I began to realize, thank God as a father, because the first thing I knew was that as a father, I had to be the best friends with my kids. And when you're best friends with them and you spend time with them and you engage with them, you begin to feel their realities, whatever that is. And immediately I realized that some of the cultures I grew with, as good as they were for me in my time and season back in Africa, it wasn't going to work with my kids in the season and time and the place that they are in. And I soon realized from my own experience as a father that a lot of our children, whether it's from the Asian community or particularly or even African community, are victims of what I call a culture clash. And oftentimes people don't see them as victims of a culture clash. And you can just listen to that when one of the earlier speakers, Sheldon, was talking about his own upbringing and the mindset that his parents had and the mindset that he had. And some parents just don't get that. And those kids begin to struggle to live a different life at home and a different life in school because of the peer pressure. And then what pains me, because I've worked a lot on the Mental Health Act, is the amount of our children as well who are in homes, in my view, that probably shouldn't be there. And some of the reasons is that some of our young people struggle with that culture clash because it brings about insecurity and an identity issue. They're really struggling to say, who am I really?
What can parents do? I mean, this is serious. I mean, feel free to drop a comment, get in touch, participate in this talk. But what do parents do? Because this is overwhelming. Parenting is one of the hardest things you could ever do. You know that.
Yeah.
And parents are hearing this and they're saying, here we go again.
Yeah.
I don't think I can meet up. Yeah. Any hope for parents?
There is hope because, like I said, we have what I call as parents and even as society, misplaced and displaced priorities. Our priorities are both misplaced and displaced. Like you heard earlier on, somebody said, what exactly is my priority as a father? If I'm a Christian father, my first sheep is my children and my household. And even it's amazing that the Bible actually says it, that if you cannot take care of your home, you have no business trying to take care of the church. And we have a problem now that there are many people who cannot take care of their home and they are leading churches. So they don't get the pain of the individuals in their churches. So what I would always start is to tend and to feed means to engage. A lot of at home is disengagement. Are you spending time? It's so simple. It's not rocket science. As a father, as a mother, how much time do you spend with your children? To love, to care, to listen, to hear, to be true friends with them. Business, money, career has become more priority and have displaced the relationship and love that meant to be between parents and their children. And we're paying for it right now. Big time.
I gather from what you're saying that spending time as a family, having a plan that would make that practical because bills need to be paid.
Yes.
So I still want to press you further in terms of practical advice.
Yes.
You know, there's a parent struggling.
Yeah.
I remember at a time, for example, in this country, I had the children with me.
Yeah.
My wife had not joined us. Yes. I was doing 3 jobs because I had to do 3 jobs to pay the bills.
Yes.
And I would, during my lunch break, go and pick the kids from school.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I would rush. I'm driving to go and pick the kids from school, and I drive past their school, and I'm speeding. I'm forgetting something. Oh, the children! And I turn back, and I pick them, drop them for care, then rush back to work, and it's a lot. What advice would you have?
I think, like you said there, Fred, life choices. I like when somebody said, there's a price you pay for the life you choose. When you make certain choices and you migrate or you move, and it puts you in a position whereby it's way out of your capacity, somebody is going to pay for it. That's why I use the word misplaced and displaced priority. Somebody is going to pay for the fact that you've chosen a particular trajectory in your life to do. When I was having my kids, it was a sacrifice. My wife could pursue career, I could, but when I realized that our kids are our priority, we both agreed that, no, we need to bring in money, I will work, but she was at home, full-time, from when they were born, all 3 of them, to a particular age when we felt now we could comfortably go and work without sacrificing the care and relationship time. That means in that period of our lives, there are a lot of things that if we were earning money, we would have enjoyed that we thought that could not be the priority over the valuable time we spend with our kids. So it's the choices you make. Are you willing to sacrifice that lifestyle that you're wanting by all means by money to spend more time with the kids? And you see, I say to our young people all the time, and it goes for adults, happiness is not having the best of everything, but making the best of every situation. And we need very much, I see when I counsel families, I always see that what causes the problem is their life choices. Once they make a mistake and take a life choice, Whether you like it or not, right or wrong, somebody's going to pay for it. Oh, not to worry. At my job, I earn top dollar. I'm going to take my kids and I'm going to put them with a carer or with a nanny or whatever. Whatever you do, there's a consequence. Something's going to happen.
We have a culture that doesn't build family life. And I'm going to come to you in a moment, but I still want to ask you in practical terms, what are the opportunities? Let me put myself in in the position of a parent that has not done so well. What do I do now? How do we regain that which we've lost? What are the organizations out there or counseling, parenting courses? How do we fix the broken boat?
Well, I think the first thing, when something is broken, the first thing you have to do with the person is, does the person realize that something is broken? That's the problem I have out there. You see some parents, I can see this thing is broken and they're telling you it's not broken. I didn't break it. So you can't even go anywhere. They're arguing with you, and the first job, even when the Bible talks about not conforming or transformation, it says before you are transformed, your mind must be renewed. So as you think, so you are. And the job for me is always how I first help that parent renew their mind to get to that place first and accept something is what? Broken. Once you've got there, my God, that's a big success. Then there are so many avenues to begin to say, look, maybe you need to now go for some counseling whereby, and most counseling, I'll tell you, looks like a computer. The first thing they do is there's a recovery point. Where was the point whereby you had all the time, you loved your family, you had everything, you got it all right? You need to find that recovery point. And at times, if that recovery point means that I need to go back and start to really say to my children, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I know that I have not blah, blah, blah. Of course, why not? You have to become humble and be broken enough to come to your child and lead by example and say, I got that wrong, but I'm willing and ready to do whatever I have to do now. And at times, what I just said to you there, the ego in the house is so big that some parents just don't believe they can get themselves to even do that. Because they always believe, in my own language, if you are the parents or the older one, you are always right. The kids are wrong. Where are you going to get to with that?
Well, I don't know if you've had comments or people asking questions. Maybe afterwards we'll deal with some of them. But is there anything else you think you can help? Because we started talking about gangs, but there seems to be the same theme pushing us back to family life. It is, yes. Back to parenting, back to fatherhood. And it's very difficult to address this issue without going deeper. So it looks like we're going to have to come back, trace our steps and say, how do we do this thoroughly? Give us a bit more guidance in terms of places we can go, who we can engage with, websites, because people might be watching us. Okay, I want to do something now. What can I do now?
The beauty of the, whether you're a Christian, it doesn't matter who you are. The beauty of internet these days and Google is, if you go on your computer now and just type, I'm a failing father, I need male or other fathers that are role models to help me. That's the beauty of computer. I guarantee you, so much will come up straight away that people that's what they focus on, who have gone through it. It's the days whereby you have to look for somebody and struggle to find his gun. People doing great work are out there and they are putting themselves online. And as you do that, you now can look. And again, listen, you can also take a step and go to your local council. Every local authority has in their town hall a community hub whereby there are a lot of services that covers a lot of issues. They have plenty of them. You can choose and test which one works for you and doesn't work. Similarly, you can go to, if you want the Christian one, you can also go to the national Christian bodies, whether it's the Evangelical Alliance or Association of Christian Counselors. You type those things, it comes up. They will point you in the directions of where you could go. Or like you had people like Sheldon and others speak earlier on, they're doing what they're doing. Some people don't even know what they're doing. One thing I am trying to champion at the moment is I did one already with Hope, whereby we have something called a Hope resource booklet. 3 years of work. We went across the UK and we compiled social action projects that churches were doing across the country. We printed almost 200,000 or so of it. It's such a useful book.
Is there a website?
Yeah, I think you just type hopetogether.com. and you will see, and you will see all their resources. It's called the Hope Heartbeat, and it has variety of projects that Christians are running, and you will find something there that will speak to what you're going through. But I'm also asking that a way whereby we can begin to narrow that down and find somewhere whereby experts like the likes of Sheldon and others, and who work, and the earlier guest, can compile as well within their own network all of them and what they do into a place whereby people can also go in there. People perish because they lack knowledge. At times, good work is out there being done, but people just don't know it's happening. And we must try and change that and find a way to resource people to be able to transform their own lives.
Andre Spence has been in the entertainment industry for 10 years now. He found youth fame on a reality show on MTV, presented and blogged for Mobo and organised events. But he felt like his life lacked purpose. He is now a purpose coach and advocates for young people to discover their purpose and unleash their potential.
Welcome back to Live at Icontowers. It is live, so please drop a comment, engage, share the link. Let's talk. It is live, so you can actually ask them questions, and put them on the spot. Andre.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Well, right now, I don't know how good I am feeling because all of these people just bashed the parents. That's how we feel as parents.
I'm going to do the same.
Please. Oh, no. Parents, help us here, yeah? At least let's get some inspiration. I mean, it's so important that we tell ourselves the truth. So even though I'm joking about it, it's not a joking matter.
That's good.
But from someone who works with young people.
Yeah. I love what Posada has been talking about, and also Sheldon. Interesting about my story is that I never, per se, grew up in poverty. My mum, I did find out that my mum had 3 jobs as well when I was like 8 years old or something like that. That's apparently I heard that. But I look at my story and I see how the effect of the pain probably that my parents had experienced of lacking finances and lacking money meant that, they then gave me money. But then the simple things of, if you know about love languages, like quality time, I lacked. So, for example, they would pay for the piano lessons, the clarinet lessons, the saxophone lessons, the drumming lessons. However, my mum didn't often turn up to them. Or there was the awards evening, and she'd be like, I'm not going to say what she said. It might be a bit racist. But she's like, I ain't going. And so from the year 7 to year 11, she never actually turned up to an awards evening. And I was a person that would win some awards. So that lack of love in that area then drove me to seek affirmation, attention, and approval through like money, through being famous, through the relationships that I have with some girls, etc. And so that was literally my driving force. My driving force was seeking love. That's what I loved about what Sheldon was talking about. So because I was seeking love in all the wrong places. But for me, the defining moment and the changing moment came when I discovered Christ, and I've got to be honest in that, through mentors. So mentors like Pastor Ade and my Uncle Ralph. I call him Uncle Ralph. He's a white man. He's not really my uncle. But they then became my spiritual father and actually showed me, Pastor Ade last year, I remember sending him a little text message saying, "Sir, thank you so much for your investment in my life," because he does so much in my life, like my parents do. And the text message he said was, "Proud of you, son, and most obligated." I was so confused. It didn't make any sense to me. I'm sure I spoke to my mentee who's behind and told him that. But that meant a lot to me. I went to my brother and I said to him, "Has Daddy ever told you that he's proud of you?" He's like, "I don't know, I haven't really heard of that. And him to say that he's most obligated. What then happened as a pattern, so for me discovering Christ and having the relevant role models and these father figures as well as my actual father in the house. So now I'm going to add this. It's helped me now to become mentors to 3 guys that are in the studio at this moment in time.
That's exactly what I was trying to say, Vio, is that's a solution right there finding models, finding mentors,
That's good.
and then finding multipliers, because
Come on,
mentors
wow.
will multiply you.
That's good.
Go on.
That's good. So yeah, I found that having, these influential people like Pastor Ade, or having some other mentors in my life, just really helped me navigate through my journey and to become who I am today.
How do young people find purpose? I was talking with my daughter 2 days back, and I was like, what's your purpose? What do you want to do? And she said something about the pay of the job. And I said, no, not the pay. It's not about the pay. What's your passion? What do you want to give yourself? How does a young person find purpose?
It's really interesting because the media definitely promotes that the most important thing in life is chasing after the goal, success as in money, the glamour you see in Love Island, the quick relationships, as the other guy was saying. So they're constantly being fed this through social media, which they're already addicted to. And the way that I would help a young person to discover their purpose, number one, I talk about if a light is not connected to its source, does it work? No. If a tumble dryer isn't connected to its source, does it work? No. If a fridge isn't connected to its source, does it work? No. So we as human beings have been designed by God, so we have to be connected to our source in order to be able to function, in order to be able to understand the reasons why we're here and understanding our identity. We then move into talking about impact, and we talk about the impact that Pastor Ade is having, which is his legacy within me. And so in order to be able to, I love what Jesus said. He said that the greatest amongst you are the ones that serve. So we're in a culture where it's all about me, myself, and I. However, God shows that when you can actually serve and you can actually help a community of people or help a certain demographic, in fact, that's when he actually puts you at the top. And there's ways of actually finding out where you're meant to be positioned with regards to purpose. And I like that you said about passion. So I've got something called 6 Ps. It's going to be in my book, which will be out this year. So make sure you grab that. The very first one is presence, being in God's presence, being able to be connected to your source. The second one is your personality, so your wiring, your temperament. So you would probably find somebody like me. Pastor Ade said something about me. I get bored when people talk, but when I'm talking, I could talk for 2 hours. So it's very natural for me to communicate and to speak and be, flamboyant and eccentric. That's how God's wired me. The next one is your pain. What have you gone through that you don't want anybody else to go through? So for me, because I spent 10 years of my life trying and failing, I don't want any other young person to have to go through that. And one thing I realized about pain develops your character, which increases your compassion, which positions you to be a change agent.
Come on now.
Ultimately, God wants you to be positioned and stationed in an area that you can actually bring his kingdom, which is, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness to the people that are around you. The next one is your potential. What are you naturally gifted in? For example, I was never good at football, but my mentee there is great at football. You may be a great singer. Then looking at your passion as well. So, what are you against? I love Gandhi. I love Jesus. I love Desmond Tutu. They, even Mother Teresa, she was against poverty. She was against hunger. So if you can find out what you don't like, you can be the solution to that problem. Next one, people. So what people, we spoke about mentors. So what people do I need and what people need me? So those are the 6 Ps.
Can I just say as well that straight away that I always say to every young person when it comes to purpose, you have to realize that you are a brand and there is no one like you in your time and space. No one like you. You're so ordinary, but you're extraordinary. No one is going to do what you have been called to this world to do except you. You have a quota to contribute. You're so valuable that you need to begin to help them see that value in themselves and not trying to be someone else. And that's always the start point for a lot of young people because many are battling insecurity.
That's good.
One of the greatest epidemic of our generation is insecurity.
Come on.
And that's why, if you go to the Bible, that's why the Bible calls Jesus the Prince of Peace. Because peace means security and tranquility. The opposite of that is insecurity. It's killing so many people. They lack confidence in who they are. They want to be someone else. And I always say this, if you lack confidence in who you are not will confide you. And the person you are not will just strap you. You will never be it, and then you neglect who you are. So it's always in terms of purpose. Start with building the person's confidence first in who God wants them to
Literally,
be.
I saw a guy yesterday walking past my car, and I don't know what kind of drugs he had. And I said, hey, I just need to talk to you, even though I had my mentee in the car talking on the phone. And I was like, he looked a bit out of it slightly. And I said to him, so what's your purpose? What are you expecting to do? He's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing level 3 electrician. And I said to him, listen, are you a Christian? He said to me, no. I said, whether you're a Christian or not, I said, God designed you in such a way that you had 23 chromosomes for your mother and 23 chromosomes for your father to create your identity, and you can create your destiny. And I just wanted to encourage in him understanding that he's actually unique. I spoke about the eye. You've got your pupil, you've got your iris, you've got your lens, you've got your cornea, etc. So whether you're a Christian or not, if you can actually instill in that young person that they are actually valuable, that they are incredibly unique, and that they've got something that they can do on this earth, you'll see their lives change.
Well, I was just wondering, as you guys were tag teaming, and I was thinking it would be nice to have some kind of a meeting where you bring young people and you talk about stuff like this, because you were just reading out stuff. You were just reading it out, and I was like, Lord have mercy. I wish this was being recorded. And I realized it is being recorded, and you have something exactly like that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so because of, as I said, my lack of understanding what I was meant to do and with regards to purpose, there's a couple of events that I've created. One is called Purpose Leaders, and that's like bringing like-minded individuals of color together so we can support each other, because being a leader sometimes can actually be very lonely. And we talk about purpose, and we talk about, how we can serve our community better and make more impact. And we have an audience of around 300 people even in that. Then there's another one as well, which is the beginning stages of, and I'll let Pastor Ade actually explain this one. It's called the Purpose Leaders, Purpose Experience. You can explain.
Yeah, I mean, the Purpose Experience is so many of our young people. I say that it's a purposeful life in a world full of purpose, but many of them don't have the experience of it. And the Purpose Experience is gathering again almost 300-400 of young people. We gather them together. We bring young influencers as well, maybe 30 or 40 of them.
50 this time.
50 this time, yes. And we sit there from about 12 to about 6. And I give a talk on the issue of purpose or destiny or footprints. And then we have hours of just sitting down and sharing real life experiences, questions based on what I've said, but on their own journey as well, and from different people contributing and saying, look, this is how I got to where I am. So the Purpose Experience is brilliant, because the young people, and you see many of them, we bring them to actually come and have that transformational experience. And it's amazing how you see people begin to share things you will not believe they will share, that they're going through, and how the experience of the day has relieved them, because suddenly they realize, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one going through this. There's nothing wrong with me. And they find other people that they of like mind that can encourage, inspire them. Many from those meetings are beginning to do great things in the community. Others who are doing it are encouraged to be more visible and vocal and pursue it. And the next one is September 7th. We only advertise this thing for like a week or two, even though it's paid and it's gone, because of what he does. So that's another practical thing in the community that we do. Just like I wanted to reiterate, Daniel, I think Daniel spoke earlier on about the fact that what he likes to do is engage with those people. And that's, again, what we're trying to do with the experience of engaging. I like when Jesus said to Peter, do you love me? And he was like, of course I love you. And he used 2 words, tend and feed. And then people were wondering, why did he keep going on? And I've learned from that you cannot tend and feed people if you don't engage with them. And so I like what he was saying about Daniel there, that he engages, he builds that relationship, he strengthens it, he was one-on-one. That way he's able to tend them appropriately and feed them.
What day is this? I know you said it's in September, but exactly when?
Well, you're filming it, so it's the 7th, you should know. The 7th of September, 2019. At the Emmanuel Centre at 12 o'clock.
Masham Street. Yeah.
What website? Eventbrite?
So Eventbrite, if you just type in the Purpose Experience, type in the Purpose Experience and Andre Spence on Google, and you'll be able to find it. It's in the Eventbrite, so you can find it there.
How do you become an MBE? No, I'm just joking. How can parents help their children regulate spending time on social media?
Man, that is a tough one. And why I say it's a tough one is when society has already taken over the educating of your children. And that's why I like what Sheldon said earlier on. We're now catching up. We've allowed parents are meant to be the prime educators of their children, but we've allowed society to become the prime educators. In some countries, even in this country now, government is even imposing itself in some ways as the prime educator, whereby constantly demeaning, as it were, the parental even authority and discipline at home. So I'm saying it's not going to be easy, it's hard, because you've already got the children in a way whereby they've now tasted something. Their whole system and psyche is so used to it that now it's a matter of sitting them down and trying to say, okay, how do we now manage this? But I will still say there is hope, and the hope is always, if you can go back to the place of relationship and friendship, everything is possible. It sounds so, it's so simple, but that's what it is. You know, when the children know that you're there, you are not coming in a very judgmental way, but in a way whereby you understand where they are, how they've come there. They're more bound to listen to you and appreciate that friendship and that concern and that relationship. But unfortunately, in some of the quarters, what parents tend to do is they go there, I'm your father, I'm your mother, I'm going to enforce what I want to do. And if the child is one of those kids that will say, you know what, I'm just going to be quiet. And you know why that child is quiet? He's just waiting for when you are not there. Or when he leaves home and goes to university or is in school, he's going to do exactly what you ask them to do.
I like what Pastor Ade said, and it's actually just building that relationship. That's the most important thing. Yeah. For example, when we was on our way here, there was a guy in the car next to us, and I don't care if the person's not. If you want to smoke, do whatever you need to do. It's your business. Don't come at me. Yeah. But he was in the next car, and I would usually just say, "Why are you smoking?" Something like that, and I think I said, "Why are you smoking?" or something, and I said, "Sir, meet Pastor Ade." And he went, "How you doing, man? Your sunglasses look good, man." Yeah. And the man was like, yeah, your cars are good, man. Yeah. And that was it. So what he was doing is like forgetting the cigarette and everything. Is actually building relationships. Because if you build a relationship with somebody, they're more likely to actually listen to you.
But you know what happened when he did that? When we did that, what happened? The moment we began to talk and do that, nobody told the guy because he was smoking weed.
Yeah.
And suddenly he just put the weed down. And tried to hide it and put it down.
There you go.
Didn't have to tell him to do it. But that's what building friendship and relationship can do, and where the entry point is so important.
Back to the core question, which is how do we deal with the addiction to social media? We've talked about relationship being one of it, but if a child is addicted to their phone, addicted to, I said some days ago that where some people are in a fix because of Netflix. You know, it's a problem. But what's the solution? Help us.
Okay, so for me, the solution is, because sometimes I'm addicted to it. I'm not going to lie. As Pastor Ade said today, sometimes he sends me a text message and I send it back before he even sent it to me. Yeah. I'm just being really honest. But the difference between me and a younger person or a young person is that I'm fully aware of what they're trying to do on social media. So social media is actually, whether you like it or not, but they're actually controlling you, they're conditioning you. Why? It's because they need you to be on the platform for them to earn money. So if you look at Instagram, Facebook, Snatcher, etc., they have to keep your eyeballs on the screen in order to get a third party to spend money with them so that they can get their money. So the platform's free for you to utilize, but it's not free for them to have their workers there and then for them to earn money. So their job, I've heard, I did some research that they've heard that they hired some people in Facebook, I believe. They hired some people from the gambling industry to actually design the app in a way that it can be addictive. So I think that it goes down to like education and educating the young people about why these people are, what these people are doing to you, and why they're doing this thing to you. And as we said about building relationship and also instilling and understanding, trying to explain to them about their identity, and building them up from the core, basically. Because then once they understand who they are, once they understand that these people are just trying to manipulate them and they can see past all that stuff that's going on, they're more likely to then listen to you when you then implement, okay, cool, maybe let's go down from 5 hours a day to 4 hours.
One thing that is majorly missing that we had when we were young, we've lost creativity. When we were young, there was no social media. We created our own fun. That's why people wonder how our skill set was so unbelievable, because we didn't have a TV 24 hours to focus on, or these 4 screens. It brought out the best skills out of us. And one of the things I say in recent times, particularly with young children, is whether in nursery school or primary school, engage them and find ways whereby they're using their hands, their head, they more. And there's a lot of things they can do even at home from when they're young. I'm always encouraging nursery schools, because I set up a lot of schools, create a lot of things whereby by play they can use all their senses without having to go and stay fixed on an iPhone to play a game. Play the game practically. Go back to those things. Society now, we will find out, we've also lost that because we don't have a lot of play areas anymore. Whereby kids can just go out and for hours and be creative and go out. And even at home, how much things do we have at home that we can use to engage them in a practical way, other than a game on a screen or iBox? No, forget that box and a hole. Let's do something. Play a game that is, whether it's even Monopoly or something else.
But you're talking about obviously younger kids, but if you then talking about some of the momentees that are there that are 18, 19 years old, it's a little tiny bit different. But I believe that, he could actually speak on his behalf of how he came off Snapchat. Do you want him to say something?
I said, hello everyone, my name is David. I'm a student at Swansea University and I study philosophy, politics and economics. I made the decision to actually come off Snapchat and Instagram for a while because I noticed that, there were certain bad habits I was getting onto, and certain things that, Snapchat and Instagram would have. So, for example, on Instagram, there's actually a lot of
sexual stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of sexual stuff on Instagram and Snapchat, and these are stuff that I haven't actually clicked on and I haven't subscribed to, but due to me following this person, it would come on my feed and stuff like that. And these weren't particularly thoughts that I wanted to entertain and to manifest in me. So I actually made the executive decision to come off Snapchat and Instagram because...
you did that through education?
Yeah.
You knew?
Yeah, because I knew that, I wasn't doing this and it was doing this to me. And in order for me to prevent this, the only thing you can do is actually remove yourself from the environment so you don't get contaminated. Now I'm on it, but now it's more different because I'm actually aware and I understand what's going on. So there's certain things which I won't do, and there's certain times I won't go on it and stuff like that. And I unfollow certain accounts where it would lead me to certain ads and stuff like that.
We're talking about awareness, and we realize that these are times of deception and addictions that are very subtle and very, very refined. So we have to be skillful in the use of these instruments. Questions, can I have the questions coming?
Okay, most Christian parents lay down rules but do not engage their children.
That's right.
So children who leave home don't want to come back.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So what advice do we have for parents?
I think it's very simple from the question.
Thank you.
Engage. The reason they don't want to come back is you don't engage. Even in laying out the rules, engage when you're going to lay down the rules. When I speak with my young people when they were still growing and I don't want them to go to certain places, or I feel a bit nervous about where they're going, I don't just say no. I come and say, can we talk? And while we're talking, having a meal or whatever we're doing, I begin to tell them, I'm actually concerned that this kind of things can happen here. What do you think? Can we have a conversation? And I like the fact that the way they come, and it's not always easy, at times it's heated. Because they're trying to say, no, but Dad, you don't get it. This is the best thing. This is what's going on in town.
Exactly.
And whatever. And they keep going. But then I like the fact that it's a conversation. Because of the way you've started it and you are making their contribution and input important, for me, 9 out of 10 times, we always get to a place whereby the decision we take at the end of the day is not about just they don't see it as just laying down the rules. They like the fact that we engage, and they also eventually see where you're coming from. And they're careful. Some of them at times will still say, for example, they want to go to parties at age 12 or even 13, that when they go, there's alcohol. Yes, and I'm confused that how can your friends' parents allow you to have 13-year-old, 12-year-olds and they're serving alcohol? And I'm saying, do you realize that by law, there's a problem with that? if something should happen to you guys there, every one of us as parents, we're in trouble. Oh, really, Dad? Can you tell me more about that? I say, yeah, because there's certain things as parents we mustn't be intoxicating your kids with, and all of that. You try to educate, inform, and then we start talking. And by the way, once you start, when these things start happening, this is where, as parents, we have responsibility. And it's educating and through engagement. It really helps to enlighten them, other than just lay down the rules and says, whether you like it or not, tough.
We're going to have to take a break. I mean, it could go on. We've gone past our time, and we still have 2 more guests before we now have the last session where we'll bring on Sheldon and Daniel and everybody else. But someone who understands creativity and someone who, every time I see him do his thing, is a very creative person.
Rock right now. I wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. Come on. I wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now.
Here's a story about an ordinary Teddy, ghetto superstar, so you see him on the telly. Best friend spotted in the club, blowing money fast, saying, homie, we made it at last. Oh my God, the way he made it rain, you would think he cussed the Lord. Used to say he started from the bottom, used to pray to God, the whole world will love him. Now he's making waves like a can of pomade, and then he talk about God, he would try to evade, like, nah, you know I'm really not religious. Rocks of Jesus, peace, relax, any piece of Jesus. Claiming to be king, he's a slave to his treasures, cause the money goes are close, but the only thing he treasures. He lives his life by YOLO. Okay, when you die, where you gon' go? I'm trying to find what? Some kind of peace of mind. Some kind of peace of mind. The world keeps stressing me. They don't know. Lord, would you set me free? Everybody stand, hands up. Hands up, say God, come set me free. Oh. Lord of mercy. Shorty got her face beat on fleek. Body so melodic and she's so chic. More booze than a ghost flick. A room full of hotties, she's a topic. Queen of the selfie. Always getting turns with her bestie. Hashtag squad sexy. I can see it in her eyes, so lonely. Sex in the club like Usher. Sunday she's in church, Usher. You really don't care if you judge her. A Ray-Bans cast a lot of shade on the haters. So when you're home and alone at night, he knows the reason why you cut your pillow tight. Drop the facade and reach for the lights. And when the hook comes, better sing it right. Like, I'm just trying to find some kind of peace of mind. The world keeps stressing me. Dear God, come set me free. Let me see your hands up. Hands up, say, Lord, come set me free. What? Like what? Lord of mercy. Hold up.
Wait a minute.
Let me get my good foot in it.
I wanna rock right now. 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 Wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. Got the rules, baby, right now. I wanna rock right now.
Yeah, Icontowers. Live at Icontowers. Snatcher in the building. Now I'm at the building.
Faithchild is a Mobo and multi-award-winning British rapper. Snatcher is one half of the CHH group Rooftop MCs.
You've been around the world. You've been doing a lot of traveling. And I've known you for some years, and I see that you've been consistent. What's your inspiration? Let's start from there.
I'm inspired by life. And being a Christian, my faith inspires my outlook on my life. So, I've been inspired by life, inspired by my faith. I'm inspired by good music, and I'm majorly inspired by bad music. Like, bad art inspires me to make better art than the bad art I just wasted 4 minutes watching or listening. So that's how my life kind of works. So, yeah.
What do you have to say to that? Did you hear?
That's dope. I've never heard it that way. I mean, yeah, but I think that's like we were talking about purpose. That's one of the indicators of what your purpose is. What angers you the most, what aggravates you the most.
Yeah.
And like, I need to change that. I think that's one of the things that got me into TV. I put on, I see, oh no. Okay, why don't you do better? Okay, I could do better, then do better.
And to the best of my knowledge, you actually have a TV show that you're working on. And
a TV channel.
A TV channel. Talk to us about
Assault, right?
Yeah, Assault TV. I started a 24-hour gospel music channel. I realized that we don't have a lot here. I mean, I take the teenagers in, where I serve, in church where I serve, and most of them don't know 20%, up to 20% of gospel music artists. When I talk to them about hip-hop artists, they're like, who? No? They know the secular ones. They know those that have been spitting the negative lyrics, but they don't know the positive ones.
Should it be that we need to put together a community that will deal with that problem? How do we empower the next generation with wholesome content, family-friendly content, but good content?
Like everyone's been saying all the while, the family really has to engage. I mean, I know I'm a young father. My eldest is 7, but what I decided to do with them is we don't have...
You have 7 children?
No, her name is 7. Okay, my eldest is 7. We have 4 children. My eldest is 7, and her name is 7. Yeah, so, and what we say is, there are no rules, but this is it. In this house, we have a culture. We don't do this, we don't do that. I mean, one day I got a call from someone from my daughter's school saying, oh, did you hear one of the guys who used to be a guy in, year 1 is now a girl. And everyone is going crazy about it, a 6-year-old transgender. And I asked my daughter, what do you think about it? I said, if she wants to be a girl now, that's fine. She's still my best friend. We talk, we play. You've taught us better to treat people better, irrespective of what they believe. I was like, oh, I taught you that? Okay, good.
I mean, how can the church help? How can the church help with the issue of engaging with young people, with the issue of violence and knife crime and gun crime? Coming from the perspective of a former youth, because you're coming closer to our side now.
I rebuke you in Jesus' name.
Rebuke all you want, man. Very soon, the gray hair is going to come. But talk to me.
Start at home. And home doesn't necessarily mean the house. Does mean the house, but also the house of God. So I think if we do our best to breed a new and godly generation, we can then take our light to our homes, our schools, our workplaces, our communities. I think, again, we put a lot of pressure on the church, I'll be honest. I feel people say, the church isn't doing this, but the church doesn't own United Kingdom. The church aren't setting the rules. The government is setting the rules, so to say. It doesn't mean the church doesn't have a part to play, because we have a part to play. But I think, so the part the church can play is by raising a godly generation. And I think if we're able to do activities that can engage the community, then I think that would be a great thing. But definitely start at home for sure.
Well, sorry to come in there. I just wanted to say that I see churches spending they have huge budgets for when they have their seminars, maybe their 30 days of power retreats and all those things, but they have a tiny or no budget. I do hip-hop music, so I only get called when they're having teen shows or teen events, and they always open with I don't know how much you charge, but we don't have a budget. It's just for the teenagers. Basically, they don't really matter. Yeah. They don't really pay that much tithes anyway. So the focus is really on the main church. So when they have their 7 days of glory, they bring all the ministers from all around. But when they want a fake child to, then they start to bargain. We're a small church. It's just for the teenagers.
Thank God for my agent who doesn't bargain, so God is good.
Things like that.
But yeah, I think for sure investing in the next generation would be is the best thing to do. If you are that invested and you are committed, I believe if you want to know much about a man or a woman, look at their bank statements and you see where all their expenditures go, and it'll give you a great example.
Let's talk about creativity. How can we redirect the raw energy of young people? How do we redirect that passion? How do you harness the creativity of a young person so that they are engaged in wholesome activities? What do you prefer as a solution for young people to engage? Because if they're not engaged in creative things, positive things and wholesome things, then of course they'll be engaged in other things. Any suggestions, any advice?
Yeah, I think find out where their interest is, where their interest lies, and begin to feel that in a way. Creativity. I mean, I think they need some sort of distraction. That time where they're young, there's a lot of energy and they just want to use it. So the more idle time they have, the more they'll be wondering, okay, what do I have to do next? And, you know, if the government reduces the rates of suspensions in schools and things like that, then, you know, also after school clubs, summer clubs, things that could engage them, excite them, and also, I mean, let them know that you're not too young to start a career. You're not too young to start something or to build your creativity and spend more time that. You're spending time focusing on what you can do, on how you can do it, and you can start with no matter how small it is. I mean, I decided to, you know, I have a phone that films 4K. Hey, this phone can actually film. I mean, I see young people with their iPhones and they're just on their Snapchat. Like, do you know that phone can actually shoot a music video? With that, you could do it. I mean, I started shooting. I shot someone's music video, edited it, everything on my phone, and he sent it out to YouTube. And people were like, "Whoa, this is dope. This is great." You paid me for it, of course. I'm like, so you can do that. You can take pictures. You could be creative. Just go out.
Well, that's what we do at Icontowers.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know, we make films. And just so you know, also, he has been part of the Icontowers narrative. Yeah. And we have a film academy where we actually train people to use their phones and use whatever they have in terms of smart devices to tell a story, which I think is very, very powerful. We started something called Drop the Gun and Pick Up a Camera.
Yeah.
And the reason we did that was because I picked up a gun once to fight because I felt the solution. Typical, yeah. Sometimes when you see violence, you fight back.
Respond.
Yeah.
You know? And I picked up a gun because they attacked the church. They kept attacking us and I got tired in northern Nigeria. So I picked up a gun to fight back. But then the Lord just showed me that there's something more powerful than the gun I'm picking. And that's His love. And so we started what we call the Love Back Project. And that's what inspired this T-shirt here. Love is more violent than terror. And I found out that love is more violent. It's only love that will make you lay down your life for your enemies. You know? And we've seen one thing. People who actually have experienced that love have actually dropped their gun. Yeah. And they're fighting back, not with guns, but with love, with creativity. And I'm a filmmaker, so I picked up a camera. So I dropped my gun and I picked up a camera to tell the story. That's what this whole initiative is about. And so you can check out on Facebook, Drop the Gun, Pick Up a Camera. On Instagram, we're launching a social media campaign. And we're going to be encouraging young people to not fight back with knives and guns, but to fight back with stories. We're doing film academies where we're coming to the community and train. Everyone on the camera today is a film student learning. And it's a bold move, you know. Yeah. I'm going, the shot is not right. But I'm like, this is what we're talking about.
Throw them in the deep end.
We throw everyone in the deep end and we're doing it. It's not perfect, but we're showing people that you don't even need a degree to be able to tell a story. Tell us a bit about what Faith Child has been about in terms of engaging and some of the work you do.
So I'm opportunity to travel to perform in many countries. I've been to, I think, 27 countries now, just performing, touring. But what I like to do in my home in UK is one day a week, I mentor a group of boys for 1 hour on a Friday, have their own individual hour. And I just instill and pour morals into them, whether it's forgiveness, love, perseverance, anger management, different topics. And I think them being able to have that one-on-one personal time is a great thing for them. I don't really make big emphasis on me being a musician. They are aware, but I don't really use it. For me, music is just an icebreaker for a bigger conversation. Music gets me through the corridors of power. It gets me through that piano. It's big up my boy that sorted that out today. And it gives me many great things. But for me, it's for a bigger conversation. And I get to perform in front of presidents, music lovers, people like yourself. You do my lighting, amazing lighting done by Mr. Fred here. And
yes, we do lighting, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that's just a nutshell. And the truth is, my life is so fast-paced, I tend to actually forget what I do sometimes. But I'm grateful that I'm able to instill a life into these young boys. So this year, I probably individually poured into 25 young men. And I'll be continuing that for the rest of the year.
Mentorship, there it goes again. Mentor. So we have people who you look at and they're models. Just watching you, I know you're a model for many people. but you're not just modeling, you're also being a mentor. But you're not just, from what you said right now, that's not just mentorship. That's multiplying yourself in people and empowering them. How do you avoid the road life, you know?
I'm grateful to God for my life. Now, I don't want to try and sound or make it sound any less than what it is. It's simply God's grace. Simply God's grace that enabled me to be on the right path, and also the power of a praying mother. I believe it was, I think it was Mr. Sheldon, or maybe it was Pastor Ade, who spoke about the importance of family. And I think my mother instilled these great morals into me, and she ensured I never strayed apart from the path I was put on. So I think the importance of having a great parent and great family is important. There are people who end up in the road life who were from good families, so I don't want to be ignorant and assume they're all from broken homes. But I came from a broken home, but I was still able to remain on that narrow path. So great parenting from my mother, being around a good crowd as well, having a great set of friends. If I had friends who were inclined to doing crime, then I would have potentially gone down that route.
You know what? Stop right there. Look at that camera and just speak to someone young and advise them, because a lot of the advice today has been very helpful to the parents. But can you just talk to a young person watching?
I think I'm going to try and assume what you're going through. So typically in most gangs, and to be honest, the word gang, yeah, you might just think you're with your friends and it's just a friendship circle, but the streets call it a gang. The truth is you're with them for probably friendship and security, and they might have great intentions, but sometimes your friends can lead you down the wrong path. Something called joint enterprise. Just because you're there with your friends and let's say they commit a crime or something, you can potentially go down and spend time in prison or have a criminal record for something like that. But one thing I've learned is that having a great role model in your life is definitely a great thing. Typically, a lot of people in gangs don't have great male role models in their life or great father figures. And sometimes if situations at home aren't great, you will find solace and comfort in the streets. Now, all that is temporary. All that is temporary, because in times of trouble, that's when you'll know who your friends are. And sometimes, even in secondary school, the friends you keep in secondary school, by the time you get to college, university, don't no longer be your friends again, can no longer have that close proximity. But I just want you to let you know there is a way out of that. And it might not be easy. People assume leaving a gang life is easy. It's not easy, and it comes with a lot of strife, a lot of sometimes bloodshed, and a lot of agony, but getting out of it for sure, and having the right people around you, and searching up people like Egangs and the other companies that are here today, we're more than able to provide you help to come out of that lifestyle.
Let me ask you this question, because I remember I was also leading a youth church in East London, and I had this guy who was a leader in a gang, and he'll come into the fellowship all the time, sat in front, making calls, you know, no boundaries, no respect for anything. And for 2 months, I just kept watching. And this day, literally, sometimes he will even come with his gun, you know, and just make calls right in the center. One day I just say, hey, turn off your phone. Everybody was scared. I said, turn it off or get out. Turn it off. Then I began to show him that I care about him, but there are boundaries. How can we balance loving but showing boundaries? Because after I befriended this young man, he told me he was going to be killed, but he's going to kill many people in the process. And I found out that his value system was crafted by the streets. How can we balance this?
It's one word, relationship.
Yeah.
/ friendship. 2 words, 1 word. People don't care what you know until they know you care. And I think, as you said, you built time with that young man, a relationship. These things can't happen overnight. Essentially, I am a stranger coming to tell someone who's been living their life a certain way for X amount of months or years to stop and change. He doesn't know me, I don't really know him. But I think once you build with these people, you will get to a place where they're willing to, you know what, I actually trust you now, and I feel like you're leading me in the right path. And once they know that they have your support, they'll be more inclined and more willing to take on that which you've suggested.
Yeah, and same thing that he said. I mean, I they call me soul snatcher, and basically snatch souls. You know, I love to talk to people about God, but what I do is I've never really met someone and say, "Let me tell you about God." You know, someone like that will say, "Hey, let's hang out. Let's meet at Stratford. Where do you go? Let's hang out with your boys." You know, you build that relationship. The first day you're just hanging out. You go to a restaurant, eat something, hang out, play around, and then you begin to, you know, first of all, build a bridge from your heart to the other person's heart and let, you know, God work across. Then from dropping the gun and picking a camera or whatever, a phone, you know, for instance, he said he had a phone, and, you know, I could say start with, you know, there are many things you can, I mean, there's one way place that gun's going to lead you to. But that with that phone, you know many things you can do. You know, there are people on YouTube making millions from just, you know, sitting down. You can go from one restaurant to one restaurant. Hey, guys, you know, I can finish 10 burgers in one sitting. And, you know, try that, put that on YouTube, let the views go up. Consistency, or learn how to film with it. That phone, instead of spending all that time on social media, you can actually film and be an influencer, an aggregator. Someone's watching, and, you know, you could actually, there are other things you could do with your life than that.
Brilliant. Any last words before we are going to round up in about 15 minutes or thereabout. We're going to bring everybody back in, and we know we'd like to hear from Sheldon. There's a question directed at him, but any last words you'd like to say? Because I feel strongly that on the back of all of this that we are doing, I'm glad that we have a few people in the house, an audience of young people in the house. I'm sure that we can work together to support Egangs and Gangsline. Personally, I'm committed to making sure that I capture the visual aspect, just like Andre. Let's see how we can start networking and start something. We're going to bring you back and see how we can build momentum and support these initiatives. Any last words?
Just want to say that there's not one route to gang violence. Therefore, there's not one solution. But ultimately, we can change the world one person at a time. So sometimes the biggest way to approach a big task is to just cut it down into micro tasks and just tick one box. So whether there's 5,000 young people in gangs in your borough, just take one. And once you turn the life of one, you start another one. And that one that you initially started will eventually convert and change another one. The new one you start will now change one, that becomes 4. And I think that's the key thing. And I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. And one thing I've learned from the Bible is that Jesus will always meet your need first before trying to convert you to anything else. So a lot of these people on gangs just need friendship, companionship, care, knowing someone loves them. Once you meet that need, then you'll be able to address the core issue. But the key thing is meet their need first, then you can say go and sin no more.
You know, we went into the streets of Basildon to ask people questions, what they think about this. And
is there crime in Basildon?
You know, well, there's a little bit of a crime.
All
just
right.
a little
You
bit.
man got it like that, yeah? Okay.
Oh, yeah, maybe. In fact, after doing several interviews, I walked up to someone, and the guy said, I can't do your interview because I'm wanted by the police. Another person said, I'm actually part of a gang, you know, and right now it would be dangerous for me to do anything on Basildon. Quite a few gangs have moved. Organized, they've moved into Basildon. I knew when they moved in, you know, so it's real and we have to engage, like you said.
We're at Basildon Town Centre interviewing people on their views of knife crime and gun crime and just stabbings in general.
I think they're terrible. The people get injured, their families get split up, they go into hospital, some have where they don't come back, and it's quite painful.
Well, I do know of quite a few people have been attacked locally, often people who have been on the streets.
It's not fair. People are afraid to go out of their houses now, and that's when you know it's getting bad.
Women folk who work late in the evening and they have to go through roads where sometimes there is lighting, sometimes there isn't.
A lot of these instances are often fueled by the gang and drug culture.
My opinion is that it's all come from home, dysfunction homes.
I blame it on all these computer games as well. Xbox, PlayStation, they have got a lot to answer for.
Most youth nowadays think it's a big thing to carry a knife, but you're a coward at the end of the day.
There's enough protection. The police are doing their job. The prisons are doing their job. But individual as a family, we need to do our jobs.
It's like deliver the seminars to all over other schools.
I think they should bring that back. National service. I think they have a shortage of people going in the army. Get these young boys off the street.
I think more awareness need to be brought about. You know, more posters and things put up.
I think if we don't empower the young people and see how we can develop them, see how we can raise them up, it will keep growing. So we have to do something to bring it down.
It's so good to have every one of us here. Honestly, I know it's a lot we're squeezing into the program, but I am persuaded, you know, that with this collection of people, we can actually come out with content that we can push beyond where we are today. That's my job. Please ask your question, and I'm sure he's ready to deal with it.
Okay, so you were talking about discipline. So the question was, how can schools help children develop effective discipline? How can they do that?
When I went to school, the teachers were ex-military, ex-army. Ade would know about that, because in Nigeria it was the same. Okay? You couldn't say a crossword. You couldn't even look at them in a funny way before the cane. We've gone, yeah, you'll get a cane across the hand or across your bum. It was a different time period. So discipline was in school. Now, the problem is that we've moved forward from that, and the liberals have got in the sense of they didn't want the cane anymore. They didn't want that strong discipline anymore. So what they wanted was a different form of teaching. But with that different form of teaching came something else, which was social problems. And unless we have parents who are strong, I mean, Faith Child, this is the first time I've met him. I've heard about him and so forth, and nice young man. And I'm listening to what he's saying about the discipline that he had at home. Now, I know why that discipline came, even though I don't know him. Because when there's no father, the mum has to do two roles. And in order to keep him away from criminality, because she knows the crime. Believe me, she knows there's crime out there. She had to do something to reinforce so that Faith Child stayed steady. Right. You understand? We don't have many parents like that. We don't have many parents who are strong-willed enough to take up that position. Why? Because a lot of parents have been weakened by domestic violence, psychological issues by the men they've met in their lives. So women have been subjected to all kinds of things going on in their personal life. Then you have the women that have grown up in the same way as their child, absent fathers, mother on drugs and alcohol. So, to answer your question, it's quite straightforward. A teacher role is to teach, not a social worker. And we've got this idea that these teachers should be social workers. They're not paid enough money. In fact, teachers are paid the worst salary that you can imagine. You're looking at a teacher that could be raising the next prime minister, but yet you're only paying her £22,000 a year. So my thing is this: if we want to have strong discipline for our children, it starts at home. Now, this is where I disagree with Faith Child. I don't believe there's many reasons why we're in this, because the statistics prove itself. 90% of the gang members, regardless of whether there's absent fathers or not absent fathers, come from a loveless home. Love is the biggest problem we have, lack of love. Nothing to do with money. Listen, you can be poor, but once you've got love, you ain't going down that road. And the problem has been we're using money as a reason why we commit crimes. That is rubbish. If we start understanding what it means to be loved, we won't stray from the past. I've raised 4 children. I was a gangbanger to the max. 9mm on my side, never left my yard without that thing. And so for me, I know what it means to have no love. And my dad was in the home. And my mum was in the home. So I know lack of love, lack of cuddles, lack of affirmation. All of those things contributed to me heading to the streets and forming a gang where 9 members of my gang were shot dead. The last one was shot 57 times. 2 Mac 10s by 2 18-year-olds in broad daylight in Brockley, southeast London at 5:30 1989. So I'm telling you that money has got nothing to do with why crime is being committed. When you have dysfunctional society, whether you're rich or poor, whether your mum doesn't pay no attention to you or your dad don't pay no attention to you, what do you think a child's going to do? Go looking elsewhere for that attention. And normally that happens in a situation where the child meets somebody negative, which is what Faith's child talked about and Daniel talked about. And that negativity is what we're fighting against, because the vulnerable child is being groomed and exploited by older kids who themselves have been let down. So we've got to get out of this whole idea that money's going to bring us something. Because let me tell you something, money ain't going to bring us nothing. The only thing that's going to bring us something in this world is love. And until we understand that concept, there is nothing else we can do. No teacher, no social worker, no Daniel, no Sheldon is going to change the life until we love. Love ourselves, love the children, and love is the first and most important thing. And get the balance right between 9 to 5, business and raising a child. And we're not getting that right. Why? Because most of us want to make money. And that's it in a nutshell. We can get, I don't know why people keep talking about austerity.
Thank you.
I can go on.
Yes, you can. We have just a few minutes left, and someone has asked a question here. You guys talk a lot about how to prevent younger generations from being exposed or led into knife crime. But how do we tackle the current crisis we face today? That is what we've been dealing with all day. So that means this person joined us late, you know, and we're going to rebroadcast and we're going to, you know. So a lot of that has been dealt with today, and it's obvious that 2 hours is gone, and we've barely scratched the surface. But it would be good to have at least a statement, closing statement from everybody. Let's start from you, Daniel. You know, this is a very serious, I just feel burdened after this. I don't think I can go back and... I don't know how I'm even going to face my children now. They're going to say, Dad, did you hear that? Dad, did you hear what I said? You know, Dad,
I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. Okay, so just on the tail end of what Sheldon was saying, you know, I do think that these problems may have stemmed from one thing, but now there are many contributing factors. You've got the like and the dislike that comes from a mobile phone that is giving children instant gratification. They don't understand delayed gratification anymore. And when you haven't got a father figure there or a mother figure teaching them, no, you have to wait for these things and persevere and earn these things. You've got kids that are quite simply saying, well, I want this now, and this is how I know to get it. Because you see this fella here, he's been telling me I can get it quickly, like this. So if you see certain issues arising in the family home, like this child or this young person has a need to keep using this device that's feeding off it, then quite clearly you'd have to be looking at what is going on in his outside world. Forget about what you see in the home. It's a clear picture of what is happening to this child in the outside world. And so for all the parents out there, my advice and from my experience of working with these young kids is look at what this child is displaying in the home, okay? Because all the answers are actually there as well.
I just want to speak to young parents, because I'm a young parent, and in my house we decided to have a culture. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old, and we decided that, you know, I pick them up from school every time, and on the way home, what happened today, I know all their friends, I talk to all their parents. No, they don't do sleepovers. Every Friday, you know, no matter what you're doing, we have movie nights on Fridays. We sit down, we watch the same movie, and we discuss after. Yes, we pray every night. Saturday, we have game mornings. So we're involved in what they do. You know, catch them early. Start from when they're young. I mean, focus on that. And I think, you know, you begin to find out who they're seeing. I'm next step for me is self-defense classes, because self-defense help to build confidence in kids. Self-defense classes, it helps not so that you can start a fight, it's just to build confidence, because I know and deal with them as individuals. My first one is different, so different from this other one that's so different. They're individuals and they like to be respected, they like to be seen. So for young parents, spend that time. Cut out what you, like Pastor Amoba was saying, cut out what you need to cut out. Take time out. Make sure you invest in them.
Andre?
So, based upon what Sheldon was talking about, love is the most important thing. God is love, and He's designed us to be loved and to love. And considering my story, the phrase that came into my head just a moment ago was "each one teach one." So the same way that Pastor Ade, you know, he taught me, and now I'm teaching them. You know, whoever it is, whether it's your children, whether it's your nephew, whether it's there's children around, the people on the street, as you've been taught, you can teach another one to have that, you know, a sense of identity and love and that, yeah, through mentorship, etc. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And rounding up for us is Pastor Ade.
Okay, my final word is actually going to be a testimony from this young man here. As far as I'm concerned, it's still a young man. And Sheldon, I say that because I met Sheldon when he was really out on the street on his own, working with our young children and trying to save them. And he was so upset, and it was a righteous anger. The righteous anger was because not only to the church, but even to the home, where our kids were just being killed, as it were. And right in here, and this was a man who was out there and felt what they were going through. And rather than us try and understand his anger and the passion and his pain, in some people's eyes, they began to try to isolate him and see him as a problem. Now, that upset me immensely, whereby you can have someone that God has gifted us for a moment, and yet we are willing to all sideline him because we don't like the way he speaks, the way he communicates it. And that, for me, was, I beg to differ, because I'm one of those people that I like Isaiah 11 when he says, don't make past judgment based on what your eye sees or what your ears hear, but based on what is right, what is righteous. And don't make decisions based on what your eye sees or what your ears hears, but on what is justice. And so when I saw him, I said, no, I love this man. I can't afford not to be with him. And I hooked up with him and said, Sheldon, as far as I'm concerned, let's work together. Let's try together. And anytime I have an opportunity, I always invite him for people to hear him, to hear what he has to say, to encourage him to do that. And then one day, they had a major launch somewhere. I think the Attorney General of the country was there. Remember that? And that meeting, everybody said, no, we don't want Sheldon. I said, not on my watch. This man is going to speak. And he came there, he spoke again as he speaks. The Attorney General was so keen, I wanted to speak to him afterwards. And then after that meeting, and I said, Sheldon, now, our next level is your anger and your passion needs to be turned to leadership. You have too much experience when we're all missing out. How can you put something together to begin to educate us, train us, inform us, so that all of us can really begin to do what you do? And I was blown away when he came up with this new, from that meeting, this new package about training. And even at times I now struggle to find him, because that thing just opened so much doors for him that he's doing so much out there now. And what I'm saying there is that he's a testimony that your anger against this situation, your frustration against it, learn from this man here and turn it into leadership. Turn all that frustration and passion into leadership, and that way many more lives will be transformed as we all in our own sphere begin to do that. You know,
raw energy redirected. Amen. Raw energy redirected. True mentorship. True mentorship. Yeah.
He took a gamble.
Briefly, yeah. Took a gamble.
Yeah. He took a gamble, and I wouldn't say a gamble. He saw what Jesse Jackson, Bernie Grant and Les Isaac saw. And he's the fourth person. And he decided that, you know what, I'm going to see past how Sheldon's delivering, and I'm going to help him. And so I'm not going to sit here and try and make out like I bought myself, because I didn't. Yeah. And my man, anytime he asks me to do something, I don't hesitate.
Same here.
I will do it because he mentored me. and stayed with me even when the church wanted to kick me to one side.
Same
And so
here.
through him, my training package goes across the country to all government. I train all the police officers. And it's through him because he said, design a package and go forth. And through that, the power of the Holy Spirit led me, and obviously I'm married, so I'm not going to take all the glory. My wife actually helped me develop the package, so I'm not going to say because she's going to be watching. But yeah, it's through his mentorship really, and he's seeing through the situation for what it is, which wasn't. I wasn't angry at anyone particular. I was angry that as a race of people, black and white, we weren't seeing the bigger picture. That's what was hurting me. And we had mothers and fathers not taking responsibility, and that was hurting me as much as the church not doing enough, as much as the government not doing enough. So I'm not gonna take. And he was right to say, if without mentorship, which is the point that Daniel's saying, it is impossible. We need mentorship, men, and we mustn't be afraid to accept that. When he spoke to me, I didn't pick up the phone and said, no, I don't need your help. I said, you know what? Help me. That's right. And I think that's the problem with men. We don't want to take mentorship. We're looking at it as a weakness, but it's a strength.
Amen, that's it.
It's a strength. When he picked up the phone and said, Sheldon, I want to help you, I jumped at it because I realized previously when I'd met Jesse Jackson and all these people, what it did for me. When I met Jesse Jackson, the gun went down. The gun went down. That's right. He saw through the gun. Right. He didn't even look at the gun. The gun went down. Then Bernie Grant came. And then Les Isaacs took me to the Caribbean to go and deal with the gangs in the Caribbean so I can understand. And then my man, he did the last furlong. And so it's important. If there's one thing I say to men,
we have to stop.
Mentorship.
Say it.
Be mentored by somebody, not with just experience, Christian or non-Christian. You can get good mentorship. Accept it. That's right. Because part of the reason why we're in this problem is that we're not being mentored. And it's the mentorship that will lead us into proper leadership, into being the man of God in the family home. Because if you remember what Ade said, if you can't rule your home, you can't do anything else. This is about mentorship.
Whoa.
Get the right mentorship, and believe me, you will see gangs fall apart.
Thank you so much to everyone. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone here. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone behind the camera. Like I said earlier on, everyone here is learning.
Well done, guys.
You know, I felt like dropping my microphone. I'm like, that shot is too dark. This is not right. And I realized
it's not about you.
That anger I have is a passion that causes change. So I see that we have to keep training them. So you guys will be better next time. We're going to improve. But thank you for making time out, you know, for mixing, for setting up the time, for setting up the refreshments, you know.
Thank you very much. Refreshments was lovely.
Thank
The
you
chicken was
so
lovely. The fruit was lovely.
much.
Next time we have to have a Victoria sponge cake.
We will. You know. You know what, yeah? I wanted to take time out to say that everyone here came out of relationship. Just like what he did. There are many times. For example, I did not want to go for a meeting, and because Andre had called me for the meeting, I'm like, I have too much I'm doing. And Pastor Ade called, he said, you need to be there. I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
I didn't know how I ended up here. I just heard, oh, you're coming next week. I was like, yeah.
Do you understand? So because of him, he introduced you to me. We started doing some filming on that. And many of us are bridges. Every one of us here is a bridge. Yeah, the Gangsline thing. I can imagine what's going to come out of this. So I wanted to say a huge thank you. I mean, some of you are in such demand that I'm surprised I'm able to get you to come, Faith Child to come, everyone here. You guys have things you could be doing, but you're here.
Another event. I
because,
didn't do the other event for you.
So thank you. And don't forget an event coming up in September.
The Purpose Experience, the 7th of September 2019. Go online. If you need any discounted tickets, at me on Instagram, Andre Spence. Thank you very much.
Share the links. We're going to come every month at you, and then we're going to respond to some of the issues. I'd like to say a huge thank you to every member of Spirit Life. Once again, every member of the crew, everyone learning. We have a film academy, and like I said, everybody on set, crew right now is learning production. So this is amazing. This is a dream come true. You might think I'm a bit hard, but the truth of the matter is you're going somewhere. And this is just the beginning. It can only get better. You know, I'll say a huge thank you to my wife. She's right there.
Oh, the love. She said she's going to make me... Is it Auntie here?
Yeah.
She said she's going to get me Victoria sponge cake. She's going to buy me. She's going to buy it. But I need it today.
I'll say a huge thank you to everybody who has helped. Those of you who are sharing the links, we have our publicists behind the scene. The work starts now. If every one of us here can share, we're going to get thousands of engagements, and then it builds. It continues to give. There are a few things I learned. I felt so rebuked today and so challenged. I wish I was
challenged.
Yeah, I'm seriously. You know, it was like they just teamed up, and I don't like you guys, to be honest. You know, but thank you so much for telling us the truth, that we need to engage and we need to work on our family life. See you next month. We need to sign out. We're like 10 minutes over time. We like to stick to time. God bless you. Live on Icontowers. See you next time. Bye-bye. Now, we are looking for volunteers, camera operators, editors, researchers, people that can just partner with us as we engage in storytelling and building creative narrative around engaging our communities. It has been amazing having you on live at Icontowers. See you next time.